World Business Report. Let's take you to the US now, because university sport in the United States is unique. The color, the sounds, the crowd sizes, and of course the huge sums of money involved. College sports has grown to become a giant entertainment business whose rivals are the likes of Hollywood films and streaming giants in the battle for viewers. Universities and the coaches and athletic department bosses they employ often make millions of dollars off the back of the bumper TV and marketing deals the top schools sign. But up until now, one key group has not been seeing any of that financial reward: the students actually competing. But could all that be about to change? Here's Will Bain.
Iowa Stadium, Iowa. And Kinnick Stadium is rammed to the rafters on a Saturday. Every one of its almost 70,000 seats for the game have been sold. Corporate hospitality boxes are booked out. The 100-strong marching band is playing, and many in the crowd are in replica jerseys with their heroes' names emblazoned across the back, all bought from a glitzy team shop. And those heroes they're here to see? Well, they're all university students from the University of Iowa. And not one of them is getting paid a cent. Brad Zaun is a state senator in the Iowa legislature.
Our son played football at the University of Iowa. And he wasn't a star, so I want to make sure that's clear. But still, that's a Division I football program. I'll never forget him coming home during one of the breaks with a new college football video game. And there was the University of Iowa with his number, with his name on the back of the jersey, and the appearance, the face of the player was pretty close to him. So from that, I was pretty shocked about that. Of course, at the time, he was really excited about it. But then I thought of the millions of dollars that are being made by this video game company.
And your son didn't get a penny.
Correct.
It's a story that's replicated across America. Anyone who wants to play for their university, male or female, in any sport, has to adhere to strict rules of amateurism set out by its governing body, the National Collegiate Athletics Association, better known as the NCAA. For decades, the financial recompense for the very best student athletes in America has been lucrative scholarships to the country's top universities. But as Courtney Altemus, who spent decades on Wall Street before switching to advise athletes on their financial literacy, explains, the numbers when it comes to college sports have simply stopped adding up.
Way before the television contracts got so big, the argument that these student athletes were being compensated fairly because of the education they were getting was a valid argument. Because nothing has evolved, there's been a massive shift that's gone on in the rest of the world, but not within the NCAA. We are now in a situation where, if you look at 2021 TV contracts across football, will be $1.5 billion. Total TV contracts for just the men's basketball tournament, that's 3 weeks of the year, will be $1 billion. Turner and CBS pay $1 billion for 3 weeks a year. So while those numbers ramped up relatively quickly, it would have been much, much, much easier had there been a slower evolution alongside those two factors, and there just wasn't. So we are here now.
Until now, though, players have not been able to share in those incredible riches. But all that is changing rapidly.
And it's going to change college sports for the better by having now the interests, finally, of the athletes on par with the interests of the institutions. Now we're rebalancing that power arrangement.
All right, well, let's do it.
Are you ready?
Let's do it, man. All right.
That's the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, relaxing in a barber's chair next to the basketball star LeBron James as he signed into law California's so-called Name, Image and Likeness Bill back at the end of 2019. The set of laws will allow college athletes to make money off, well, using exactly that, their name, image and likeness through sponsorship deals, endorsements and appearances, for example. The bill is due to come into force as it stands in 2023, although there are already efforts to speed up that process. Hayley Hodson is a former volleyball star whose career was cut short through injury whilst representing Stanford University. She was part of the push for the bill in California and is also involved in new efforts to bring the start date forward.
Really, social media became a thing during my high school years. And as a woman, and an athlete, I was bothered from a very early age that I was unable to capitalize on the talent that I had to not only monetize that talent, but also to use who I was and what I was doing to be able to build a platform for myself. But even beyond the people that have the opportunity to really, really, really monetize this in a huge way, there are so many opportunities for all sorts of little things too that can not only help a college athlete build a brand, build some recognition, help perhaps start a career in something completely different than sports for them, but also in turn then build an audience, build viewership, build a following that will benefit the universities as well. I mean, I think there's a real argument that these athletes are functioning like university employees more than they are like university students. So the argument for sort of these name, image, and likeness rights really is in this treat college athletes like other students, which is to say that if you are any other student at the university, you can get any kind of endorsement deal you want. You can become a TikTok star. Maybe you're an excellent tuba player, and maybe you're on a tuba scholarship, but you can still go sign a recording contract to do stuff for a local record label, even though you're being scholarshiped. So they're like, oh, double dipping and all of this concern over the athletes having too much money. It's like, they don't have too much money. They have not enough.
What California did was effectively fire the starting gun on a race across the country to pass name, image and likeness laws. In fact, at the last count, only 11 states across the country were yet to start any formal moves to pass a bill. And although California passed the first, other states will actually begin implementing theirs much sooner, in some cases as early as this summer. And it's this speed that's creating competition almost as fierce as that on the field or court. The states are fearful of being left behind. Amongst them, Brad Zaun, who is co-author of Iowa's Name, Image and Likeness Bill.
Iowa's at a disadvantage right now, and I'm talking about the state of Iowa, because the state of Florida, I believe it's in July, they are going to allow the athletes to be compensated based on their name, image, and likeness. If you have an athlete that is right now trying to narrow their decision between an Iowa school and a Florida school, the University of Iowa and Iowa State, you and I, are at a huge disadvantage because they can't offer any kind of compensation, not to mention the nice weather that there is year-round down in Florida and the oceans. And so I really wish our NCAA would address this situation and level the playing field throughout the United States. You know, it'd be awesome if our federal government would. I know they've talked about it, but they're so dysfunctional out there in D.C., I'm sure nothing's going to come out. But I think the most important thing is this bill sends a message to the NCAA that we're serious about doing something about it if you can't.
It's why both the NCAA and the universities themselves have been cautious. We approached a number of universities about this piece, but none were comfortable speaking on the record. Following its Board of Governors meeting last week, the NCAA did provide a statement, though, saying its members remain committed to providing a path for student athletes to benefit from name, image and likeness opportunities, and it said it recognised the importance of taking swift, appropriate action to modernise their rules. But it's precisely this speed, though, which has some people concerned. When Courtney Altemus left Wall Street, she set up TeamAltemus, a group of financial experts who provide independent financial literacy training to professional athletes, and now an increasing number of college athletes too. As you heard earlier, for her, it's not that change isn't necessary, but that the pace of change is outrunning any chance to put up safety nets for everyone involved.
I always say people don't get into collegiate athletics for the money. Very few percentage are these top tier, mostly football and basketball coaches who are making all this money. And they're going to be caught in a situation where when they're out on the recruiting trail and they're meeting with potential athletes and they're meeting with their families, NIL is going to get to a point where these families are going to want to know in their institution, how well exposed is my child going to be? Are they going to be able to make money?
Like talking to an advertising agency.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Up until now, the staff of the athletic departments, they could regulate who was coming in to talk to their student athlete because of the amateur model. Well, now, all of a sudden, these departments, they're going to have marketing reps, insurance salespeople, financial advisors, agents, companies who want to pay their student athletes coming at the athletes. There's no tool in place to screen them. And the The problem is, if somebody, say a star football player, hires a financial advisor while he's a freshman in college, and 5 years later he's lost all his money, he comes back and sues the school and says, well, I met this person on your campus. It's your fault. I think that, what we have seen so far is there's such a focus on how the student athletes are going to make money. You've seen a rush to bring in the branding and marketing tools to the universities, not as much of a rush to bring the protective tools to the student athletes.
Courtney Altemus there, ending that report by Will Bain. Let's turn to our final